Hello. Beep, 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the Edijester. How are we, good people? The weekend is upon us. Good Lord, again. Ah, yes, after a lovely evening last night with the Christmas dinner, turkey. Oh, we had all the trimmings. It was lovely. Nice bottle of vino. And we talked so much that we didn't get to watch JFK. So we ended up doing Cabaret. I used to have this young girl named Elsie. Was it young girl? Young friend. I can't remember. It was very good. Bit of Liza. If you want to see what's going on in the world and you want to know where we're headed, there you go. Watch Cabaret. It's got it all. And it was very, very conscious of the fact of what really was happening culturally pre-war in Germany. But also, there's a mirror there. Go and have a look. And then we watched The First Wives Club. Because why not? You don't own me. Bit of a feminist wet dream, but it was fun. Oh, Bette Midler and Goldie Hawn. But I wake up this morning to this, which I think is very interesting and worth following. So I'm bringing it to your attention, lovely Twitterites and etc. people. For 7 days, look here, Trudeau is the article here. It's about Trudeau, but the explanation is, for 7 days, the Telegraph is running a series of exclusive essays from international commentators examining the impact of Canada's progressive legislation on issues such as assisted dying, free speech and drugs. In our first essay, world-renowned Canadian psychologist and author Jordan Peterson examines new bills for policing online harm. So this is Jordan Peterson here. He famous of not only the Cathy Newman interview, but also Scourge of Woke. Has been a fighter in this for some time now, and like him or loathe him, and I know many people do loathe him. He's not stupid. Let's at least give him that. Oh, indigestion. Now, he says here, the bloom has certainly gone off the rose with regard to Canadian Justin Trudeau, and most deservedly so. He was a great hope of modern progressivism, handsome and charming, but his actions and inactions have confirmed the very worst suspicions of those dubious about the moral claims of elites obsessed with green dogma, their excessive demands, and their false compassion. Now, here's the interesting thing. There is a rumour that has been ground out of the mill that the first phone call that Starmer made was to Trudeau. Tell you anything? Well, we'll see, won't we? We'll see as we move along here in the UK in the same direction as Canada. To put it bluntly, says Jordan, Canada is not thriving. On the economic side, we in the Great White North are now less productive per capita than the inhabitants of Mississippi, the least productive American state. Our border is, if anything, more carelessly open than that of our US allies, and our real estate prices are, despite our great expanse of habitable land, much higher. The country also has a meanness about it that was entirely absent in living memory, a developing distrust of institutions, universities, courts, professional organisations, K-12 education, legacy media. Sound familiar, folks? That is utterly different than anything Canada has seen since the Second World War, indeed, since the country was established. Everything Trudeau promised turned out to be false. There were no truly sunny ways, as the charming but exceedingly narcissistic and handsome boy for show originally claimed. He sat the women he hypothetically cared for in equal numbers with men in his new cabinet, famously in 2015, despite the fact that only 1/4 of the relevant elected candidate pool was female. It took very little time, however, for at least half a dozen of them, including his Justice Secretary, the only Indigenous woman at the time elected to the House of Commons, to no longer be in post. During their last meeting, she's reported as telling Trudeau, I wish that I had never met you. There he is. I think he's loathsome. There you go. I don't think it's just me either. His energy policy, really an anti-energy policy, has been disastrous, interfering as it has with the development of the great fossil fuel resource that is the blessing of Western Canada. Such a resource is necessary for the world, as the alternative is reliance on dictatorial and unstable countries not particularly noted for their green concerns. Trudeau lacks interest in policy matters, having famously and self-righteously stated as much regarding trivialities such as financial concerns. It is not too much to say that the former part-time drama teacher is very good at playing Prime Minister, but quite dreadful at actually doing the work. Scathing? Do we think? I think scathing. I'm going with scathing. How about you? Thanks, Jordan. We're definitely going with scathing here at Jester Central. This is a rather dismal purview of a rather dispiriting reality. However, the situation in Canada, and by implication the progressive world of which my country was, hypothetically a shining example, is far worse than even all that indicates. What evidence do I have for that? Asks Jordan. The sheer, unadulterated, farcical horror of much of the legislation that is currently in process during the waning days of the Trudeau years. Analysis of one bill, C-63, makes that starkly and serenely clear. I use those rather dramatic adjectives advisedly. Such legislation has become the norm rather than the exception in Western societies with a modern progressive bent around the globe. On its surface, like the aforementioned Trudeau, the bill appears not only harmless but positively beneficial. It purports to do nothing less than protect children, brackets, think of the children, from the predations of online psychopaths and purveyors and collectors of pornography. The damage that's been done in the name of think of the children around the world is just extraordinary. It really is a dangerous thought, dangerous idea, that somebody says, we must think of the children, is always going to be dressed in the garb of the good, rather than it becoming something more creeping. We have to be very careful around this kind of legislation, not least of all because much of it will then disempower and cut the parent out of the equation. Who could possibly object to such an aim, says Jordan, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's attractive. You see, it's the attractiveness. You want to look after the kids, don't you? Yes. And when people use that in a false way, it detracts from the real need to safeguard children. But the apparent positive impulse is camouflage for something far darker, so dark that it took me multiple readings to assure myself that I was indeed properly understanding what was in front of me. A codicil, I am not a lawyer, but I am at least reasonably literate. I was certainly correct in my very, very public understanding of a previous benevolent Trudeau legislation, one Bill C-16, which is what Jordan railed about originally. That's what brought him to our attention. The legislation claimed to do nothing less laudable than to bring even more of the poor, oppressed, intersectional masses of the world under the shelter of legal protection, extending the Canadian Charter of Rights to so-called gender identity, which is something that does not exist, and gender expression, which is, as far as I can tell, nothing other than fashion choice, while simultaneously compelling the use of certain forms of private speech. Brackets, something no other bill in a Western country had ever done, close brackets, as well as further confusing and seriously harming children, which were already confused by the idiot ideologies of the fringe. Now, what Jordan is describing here has just happened in Ireland. Ireland have gone equally nuts. So they're all following this Trudeau twerp. So Ireland's gone equally nuts, and it's only a matter of time before we go equally nuts, as the British Parliament, run by Queer Harmer and featuring people like Anna Seed, Dodderyballs, she's going to be involved in this. Bridget Upchuck, or whatever her name is, she's on it as well. They're going to end up with ridiculous notions like banning conversion therapy, and in essence, they'll be forging transing the gay away into legislation, as well as interfering in the online world, which is going to happen with a bill in January, which was passed by the previous Tory government. They're tinkering, these people. It's a real problem. They're tinkering. I watched the Canadian Senate at the time of Bill C-16's passing, which I publicly objected to, at the cost of the demolition of my professional and professorial life. That's in brackets again there. Informing the rude and dismissive good thinkers in that august institution that their virtue-signalling law would not only threaten to be free speech, as it has, but produce a positive epidemic of psychopathology among, in particular, young women. That's what he said. He said, that's what's going to happen. You do this, you are going to create a psychopathology in young women. And lo and behold, what have we got? This prognostication has come true with a vengeance, as the vulnerable young women it confused have been lining up in droves of thousands, many of them minors, for the utterly brutal double mastectomies that have now become far more common as a form of gender expression. I believe that professional participation in all of this, particularly the surgeries, which in the case of the boys affected means castration, is tantamount to the crimes against humanity that particularly everyone on the left absolutely forswore, in principle, following the fascist atrocities of the National Socialist State. Him talking there about Germany. He's not wrong. You tell me he's wrong. He's not wrong. And that will annoy people, that he's right, certain people. We have this on the Warrior Teacher program. Oh, God, are you making me watch that Jordan Peterson thing? Yes. Have a look at it and see what you think. And then they come back and go, boy, did I get him wrong. You might not like him because of certain things he says about men and women and how men and women should be. You might not like me because of that. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think he's wrong with any of this. And you can tell me in the doobers as you would normally whether he is. The article then goes on to talk about this new bill, C63, which, make no bones about it, the online harmers bill. This stuff is dangerous. I don't care what you want to do with it. This stuff coming in January is dangerous. You wait and see what they end up doing with it. You wait and see. Because we are currently in the hands of a bunch of people who are not very nice. And whether you've got your head around that or not is something that's going to be really important as we move forward. Right? Censorship is a wicked thing on all levels, and we should wield it very, very carefully indeed to ensure A, that who it is that we want to protect is actually being protected, B, that adults are still free to speak and to think, and C, that we do not undermine parental or guardian authority when it comes to the management of children's growth. It's not complicated. So let's not swing from, let's have a free-for-all to let's have, people going to prison for, that's happened, it's too late, They've already gone to prison for speaking. Go read it. I think this is going to be a series worth watching. So keep an eyeball out on the old Tory graph, because that's where it will be. All right? Great to speak with you. Another day, another dollar, all that stuff. Come and be a warrior teacher. Come on! We're starting in November. I'll see you later. Have a great day. Bye.